Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Brian. I am joined here with Nikki and Eddie. And today we're going to be talking about the DIY import tools for buildings, units, residents, and a couple of other things as well. We're going to demonstrate setting up a new building using import tools. We're going to be using units imports, resident imports, and opening balances imports, along with a new tool that we just came out with, the adjustments imports. And then we're going to give you a recap on the existing import tools. All right, so let's talk about the benefits of using import tools in MDS. The onboarding process for setting up a new building, it could be, pretty tedious because you have to enter in all the units once you have your building, and you have to enter in all of your residents as well. That's a lot of information. So it could take, a full day to do that. But with the import tools, it'll make it much smoother. It also would lead to saved time on daily tasks, and it also prevents user error. It'll allow you to create more repeatable processes and concrete routines that you could pass along to other staff. So we do want to spread the awareness of the different types of imports that you could use to alleviate your bulk entries. I do want to walk you through a process that could take hours or even a couple of days. And you'll see me doing maybe less than 5 or 10 minutes. So let's pull up a scenario here. Just set up a building 20 here. So I just created this building and I assigned it to a company. In this situation, you do have to create the building first. So if I open up the building, we don't have any units. And normally you would go to unit information and then you'd have to add in all your units. I have here a CSV file, which you're going to use CSV files for your imports. So if you are getting a new property and you are requesting reports, make sure you get some kind of Excel file, digital Excel file. It doesn't matter which format, but as long as you have an Excel, you can work with that. I'm going to open it up here and show you how it's set up here. I have 4 columns. I have a building column, unit column. I have percent share, which is blank, but that's okay. And then I have the room count. So we'll do this one first. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to other tasks, and then I will go here, units, tenants, balances, import. And then I have some templates set up here. I'm going to use this one right here. Double click it and it will load up a template, which looks very similar to the Excel file that I was using before. And I will select up here the 3 dots and select my file that I want to use. Click open, and I'm just going to load grid here. And then the information is just going to load up right in here. If there's any errors, it will show up right here. And if there is an error, it'll most likely tell you what's wrong, and you can just fix it in the file itself and then upload it again. So I don't see any errors, so I'm just going to click proceed with the import. Do you want to ignore? I'm just going to hit no. So what you're seeing here, if you're creating a new template, this is how you'd set it up. If you do have a file, all the columns that are there, they're going to have to match fields in your template. So what I'm doing here, I have building header and then I have building number. You'll be able to find these fields when you're creating your template. But what I'm going to be doing is just removing one of these columns because I don't need it for my file. And then you just want to save it. Okay. And then let me just reselect and load it up here. So import should have went through. And let me just go back to the building list here and just hit file, refresh. And we'll open up my new building again. As you can see here, we have the units. We have about 50 units here that were just imported right into the building. Normally you'd have to enter these one by one. It's the process. But that was just a simple import and we have our units. So now that we have our units, we do want to use the import tool again, just a different template, and we're going to import our resident information. So I'm going to show you a sample file of the resident import. So here we have email column, we have phone number, we have the rent, we have a lease end date, lease start date, move-in date, we have status codes, and we have both resident names. This is a lot of information. So adding this manually, for me, I think this would take me like a day. So I'm just gonna hit save. And then we'll go back to the same tool. So other tasks, units, tenants, balance, import. And now I'm gonna choose the resident import template. All right, so once we select that, now we select our file again, open, and hit load grid. It's gonna just load everything in. And it looks like no errors. Okay, perfect. And I'm just gonna hit proceed with import again. All right, so it's going through all these units and processing them with the information here. When you're creating your template, you just have to make sure that the fields match up with the columns that you have set up in your file. Import completed successfully. Hit OK, cancel. And I'm gonna refresh the building again from just the building list. Building 20. All right, and then now I have all my residents. I have lease expiration, move in. I have the base rent, monthly charges. I have even the status codes here. So we have all this information, emails, phone numbers, they all got imported. So it looks good. And I think we do have the charges. I actually had that option. I'll go back very quick to show you. But you can actually include the rent, but you don't have to. You could just check this off if you don't need that. But it'll import the base monthly charges for you. The last thing I want to show you here with the utility, this is the whole process of setting up the building. If you do have opening balances for these residents, you can also import those, and I'll show you the file. And you have to save these in CSV format. So as long as you get an Excel file with the information, then you should be able to just resave it as a CSV, and you should be able to use it. So I'm going to go back to the buildings here. And let's go to the imports. And the final one is the opening balances import. Just hit select on this. And up here, I'm going to do the same thing. Select my file and then just find that opening balance file and then hit load grid. And it's all loaded in with no errors. So I'm going to hit proceed with import. Now I'm going to go back into the building. I'm going to hit file refresh again just to be safe. All right, and then I'm going to click into one of these. They all should have them, but that import that I just did, it'll adjust in their current balance, and you can do that for the entire building. So essentially, as long as you have a column for all the mandatory information in MDS, you can use any of these import utilities with a CSV file that you already have. So then you can apply it to pretty much all of the import tools. All right, so I'm going to hand it back over to Nikki, who's going to be talking about the adjustment imports.
Cool. Thank you, Brian. Very exciting stuff. And one thing I wanted to mention, as you can see, these are very powerful tools. These entries that you're making are permanent. And so you should be careful when dealing with these tools, especially when you are uploading in bulk, because there's no unimport, basically. So just keep that in mind as we continue on here. So the last demonstration that we'd like to share is actually my personal favorite. It's called adjustments imports. So this is something that clients have been eager about for a while. It's probably one of our top feature requests. So especially excited to be rolling this one out. I'm sure most of you are familiar with making billing adjustments and cash receipts. And this new tool takes away all of the legwork when it comes to making those bulk adjustments. So let me give you an example here. Let's say we've run end of month for a building and we realize we forgot to issue an additional charge. We've seen this happen all the time. It's very popular call that comes into our support team. Or let's say we ran end of month for a building and we realized that we issued a charge too soon and we need that adjusted out for the month. Otherwise, our tenants are going to be calling us going crazy. We hear that all the time as well. A common request is to ask us if we can roll back the buildings to prior months so you can make your corrections, but that's not feasible. And this here is the solution. So these are adjustment imports. And like I said, this is going to allow you to make bulk adjustments into the current month or up to 1 month prior. I'm going to take us back into a demo environment real quick. Now let's just say, again, in my scenario, maybe I accidentally billed 175 residents for something. Whoops. I can now go into CR adjustments and I could enter each one of those tenants manually. I can back the charge out and I can move on to the next one. Or I can have an Excel spreadsheet whipped up and imported into the system. A couple of clicks later, I will have that full CR batch with all of my adjustments loaded, ready to go. Just check this out. Template's very simple. I have my building, unit, charge code, and then amounts here. I know I said 175 residents, but for time's sake, I'm going to do a much shorter import. But I've done this myself several times, and I can confirm that adjustment batches of nearly 200 residents takes about 5 to 7 minutes from the time I hit import to when all of those adjustments are stamped on the ledger. So anyone who's ever had to do that manually knows that's a monumental difference right there. So here I have the file loaded and I have my deposit date in August. So these adjustments are going to be made for August. And you can see this looks a lot like that Excel spreadsheet that I just showed us. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed with import. Let that run through. And so what this is doing is creating a CR batch that you'll have one more opportunity to review before you process. We don't have to save these, but it saves an edit report to show you what you did during this import. So it's really as simple as that. You let it do its thing, go grab your coffee. You'll probably be done by the time you're back. And the beauty of these templates is that you can always keep your spreadsheets intact. I was showing you before, if you have a new adjustment you want to issue, you can simply update the column for the charge code amounts and the comments, and it's ready to go. You do not have to build these from scratch each time. And as I've shown you, you could use this two directions. You can use it to adjust in bills, or you can use it to adjust out bills with just, making the values positive or negative. So that's really useful stuff. So going back into MDS, and you can see that's exactly what it looks like, just like I did it through CR, but a lot quicker. So another great thing about the templates is once you understand how to build them and tailor your Excel spreadsheets to match the templates for one import, you've mastered all of the import tools that we have. It's a pretty intuitive setup, and the concept is the same for all of them. So let's go back here. Speaking of all of our import tools, just wanted to give a brief inventory of what we have in MDS that you may not know about. Once people realize that these are available to them, they can't really believe that they've been doing things manually. Like I said, here's just a quick inventory of what we have. We have AP and CD imports, which are great for entering vouchers or paid items in bulk. We have CR imports, general journal imports, budget, vendor, work order imports. Really, every module has at least one or more import features that you may not know about and can be a huge time saver for you and your team. So again, if any of these things are jumping out as something you want to learn about, please feel free to reach out and we'd be more than happy to give you a quick tutorial on how to get things going.